Welcome friends, it is Sunday morning, so we are going to do another one of our most watched recipe videos on the YouTubes. And today I want to make an authentic chicken marsala recipe. And I'm saying authentic very tongue-in-cheek, and I'll get to that in a little while. So we're going to filter that by view count. And the top recipe, oh, damn it, Food Wishes is number 2. I really wanted to do a Chef John recipe. Anyway, the number 1 is from a guy named the Marsala Man, chicken marsala, the original classic simple recipe from Marsala, Sicily. Boy, he's really putting a lot into this. So let's check him out. Okay, so the video was uploaded in 2009, so the quality absolutely sucks. The color's horrible, the focus is horrible, everything like that is horrible. But it seems like a very simple, straightforward recipe, so let's get to it. So I use the search term authentic because what is authentic? Nobody can say what is authentic. And in the case of this recipe, the whole recipe, the history of this whole recipe is inextricably tied to this wine, Marsala wine. It is from Sicily. And it didn't exist until around 1790, 1800. And here's the story of that wine. You've got this English wine merchant out looking for his fortune. He's looking for the next big thing. And at that point, the biggest wine out there was pretty much Madeira. Fortified wine from some islands off of the coast of North Africa. And it's all the rage, all in England, it's all the rage here in the colonies, and he's looking for a way to create the next Madeira. So I've got 2 chicken breasts here, and in that recipe video, he sort of glosses over the fact that you're supposed to butterfly them and then flatten them out to make them an even thickness, like a scallopine. Kind of looks like he does it in the video, but at the same time, it looks like he doesn't. And I've seen this done both ways. Where it's flattened out and where it isn't flattened out. So you don't need a fancy mallet. The bottom of a frying pan. You don't need to put it between 2 pieces of plastic. Just do it very carefully and you can flatten it out. So he rolls up into Sicily, buys some vineyards, buys a winery, and totally rips off the Madeira process, the way they make the wine completely, the way that they boil the must ahead of time, the way that they fortify it with brandy, total rip-off. And in fact, he then goes on to call the wine and markets the wine up until about 1860 as Sicily Madeira. So it wasn't until about 1860 that this was even called Marsala. So this guy makes a boatload of money. The wine is sent everywhere. I'm just going to wash my hands before I continue. So he's got this wine. He's making lots of money. A lot of other English wine merchants flock to Sicily in order to make their money making this wine called Sicilian Madeira. And this is also a very tumultuous time in the history of Sicily, because Sicily didn't become part of Italy proper until 1860. So in like the 1700s and through the early 1800s, the Napoleonic Wars, the British invade, the French invade. You've got a bunch of different cultures that aren't Italian. And so you've got this mix of cultures, which brings this dish as a very early fusion of what would please the English merchants, what would please their taste palates, what the French chefs would create on the island, and also the wine merchants. They want to sell wine. They want to sell a lot of wine. And so this dish also gave them a vehicle to say, hey, buy our wine, make our dish. So very early on, this would have been veal. Totally would have been veal. I don't think the chicken came into the picture until it came to America. And it became an Italian-American thing to make this with chicken. So I've got flour. I'm just dredging it in flour. I've got salt and pepper in there as well. And we just want to coat the chicken. Of course, coating the chicken, it's best to use your fingers and your hands, but you know, I've got the camera, I'm running the camera, I'm doing everything here on my own. So I'm going to use tongs. Now, into the frying pan, I'm going to heat up some olive oil. So let's get that going. While that's heating up, I'm going to start chopping the mushrooms. And strangely, this recipe doesn't use shallots. Most interpretations of this recipe I've seen use shallots. A lot of people expect it to have garlic, but early interpretations don't have garlic. Garlic is definitely an Italian-American thing that's happened later. And of course, when you're making this at home, make it however you want. This one is very plain. I mean, it doesn't have butter. Most would have olive oil and butter. And I think that's the French influence on making the sauce. I don't know. This is probably, I'm a little bit worried about this recipe actually, just knowing that it's very plain. It will, though, allow the wine to shine through. And the wine is the star of the dish. The wine is the reason that this dish even exists in the first place. So the oil is hot, and we'll get the chicken in there, and we're just going to brown it on both sides. Okay, so the chicken looks to be done, and I've got the mushrooms chopped. So, pull the chicken out of the frying pan, and what we've got on the bottom is a mixture of flour and oil, which is a roux. So the next step, that will really help thicken the sauce. So we'll just set that aside, a little bit of more of olive oil, and in go the mushrooms. And we just want to cook these until they've softened and released most of their moisture. Now, to say that Marsala is one kind of wine is doing it an incredible disservice. There are several different kinds of Marsala. And you start with two main kinds. One is a sweet wine and one is a dry one. This is the dry kind. And the dry kind is really what you need for this dish. The sweet ones are too cloyingly sweet. And this is the fine, Marsala fine, which is the lowest level of Marsala. It hasn't been aged as long, which is really the designation. There's how many years it's spent in a barrel. We could do an entire episode just on this wine. So, yeah. The wine is the star of this dish. A lot of people are going to ask me what the substitution is. Can I substitute something else if I can't get Marsala? And the answer would be, I don't want to be too pedantic, but the answer is no. You could make this, though, definitely with Madeira, since that's what this is modeled after. You could make it with Madeira. You could use sherry, because it's another fortified wine. And you could use port, because port is fortified as well. And they're all sort of made in the same method, almost. Madeira and this are most closely associated. So, this is just about ready, looking pretty good. So I'm going to add about a cup of wine in, and we're going to reduce that down. A little bit more. Okay, so this is reduced down to a nice syrup, and so we put the chicken pieces back in. And we just finish cooking the chicken through in the sauce, turning it to get it all nice and coated and get the sauce everywhere. Just about done.
That looks pretty good, Glen.
Chicken Marsala, or chicken Marsala-like. So this is the
Chicken with Marsala?
This is the #1 most watched chicken Marsala recipe on the YouTubes.
Excellent.
Maybe.
Well, it's,
Maybe. I mean, the star of the dish is the Marsala, right? And so it really is about the sauce and the mushrooms.
okay. I'm having a hard time.
Yeah, don't get too excited.
I'm gonna start with the mushrooms.
Don't get too excited. It's bland.
I can taste the masala.
Yeah. Marsala.
Marsala.
Chicken masala is something completely different.
Yes, it is.
Completely different.
Chicken marsala. I can
Yeah.
taste the marsala.
Yeah.
I wasn't here, so what other flavors did you put in it?
That's it.
Okay.
Salt, pepper, marsala, and the mushrooms. Now, most recipes would have butter and shallots, and the shallots would bring a lot of flavor to it. The butter would bring a lot of flavor to the sauce as well. A lot of people in the comment section were yelling and screaming that there was no garlic in it, and traditionally this dish would not have garlic.
Okay.
And it wouldn't have any of the other spices that we associate with Italian cooking because it is French fusion cooking.
French fusion.
It's
cooking.
French fusion. It's French chefs cooking for English merchants on the island of Sicily. So
But I was gonna say, but the chicken is moist.
the chicken is very moist, yes, but the flavor is a little bland. I would add
Okay.
I would add some other things in the background, and it wouldn't have originally been chicken. It would have been veal, which would have brought a different
would be a
flavor.
completely different flavor. In which case, it's not. That's not the same.
Not the same at all.
No.
So,
Good
most-
base for a recipe.
it's a good base for a recipe, but obviously the most watched recipe videos on YouTube aren't always the best recipe videos on YouTube.
But like any recipe, make it your own.
That's it. That's it. Take it home. And if and as much as I say garlic wouldn't originally be in this recipe, if you want to put garlic in it, go ahead and put a couple of cloves of garlic in it. It would definitely bring it up a notch, as would the shallots and some butter. But I'm going to put this over the best mashed potatoes ever recipe when we take it inside.
Excellent.
And play with the Marsala as well. I use like a low quality Marsala because that's what's available to us. If you want to, a low quality, still a $20 bottle of Marsala. If you want to do a $200 bottle of Marsala, go right ahead. Definitely change the flavor again.
Let us know how it works out.
Yeah, and you could, as I said before, sub in sherry or port or Madeira.
Which would all have a slightly different
Yeah.
flavor.
So tell us how you make it. If you make it, put that in the comments section. And thanks for stopping by. See you again soon.